I see that warning sign again. Hey, the comic friends on Travis. It's comic book roundtable. It freaks me out every time I see it. I don't know if you see it on your end, but
No, I
pops up
don't.
this it pops up this blue box and it says Hangouts is going away August 1st. So it literally now has a date. So July may be
Okay.
the last comic book roundtable.
Okay. So
Cause
August 1st already. Wow.
yeah. Because it says for quick streaming, try the YouTube webcam, which of course YouTube webcam is a individual sort of a deal. So I don't know. I guess now I'll have to get serious about exploring what else there is out there. So I can continue to hang out and talk comics with my friends, or I'll hang out and talk comics with my friends, and you all just won't ever see it. I guess is what it's gonna come down to. So I don't know.
Because originally when I saw you, were you guys doing FaceTime? Do you know, or what you did
Yeah,
way back when?
when we very first started this, back when the group of us first started this, we were using Skype,
Skype.
and
Okay.
right, and it was just voice, and then we would just throw it up and then put visuals around it. Um, and then it was some sort of YouTube. There was once some sort of hangout thing got created is when we started doing the actual on video sort of a deal. So,
All right.
but I guess it's free, so I can't complain too much, right? So,
Yeah.
except it's not free. They're using our content,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's not like it's free.
You are the product. Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe not a very good one, but anyway, here we are. We're here to talk some comics. Let's talk some comics. We're gonna talk Marvel to start out with. Mike, I don't know if you read any Marvel books. I only read one. Ms. Marvel, issue number 4. She's on some alternate world where she is the destined one, foretold in their prophecies to save the planet from whatever evils to come. The people are on the planet are battling each other because there doesn't seem to really be the evil coming to get them. So of course they're fighting amongst themselves. And towards the end of the issue, the evil actually comes to get them. It's all right. It's probably fine. I don't know. It just doesn't have exactly the same kind of charm that it had before. Obviously, different creators on the book. And the book has never really been geared towards me anyway, clearly. I mean, it is a young person's book. And it's continuing with that, but I'm also finding it because it doesn't have the charms that I learned to like about the book. I'm less interested in the book. So I didn't order it the last time I ordered my comics. It's not awful. It's just not my thing, and it's reached a point the little stuff that I enjoyed about it are gone, so I'm gonna drop it. So much to the disembodied voice's chagrin, she actually likes the book, but I'm not gonna keep getting it. So anyway.
You're not even just going to get her own long box and let her start collecting? And
No.
okay.
No. There's enough sickness in my house not to create more people with sicknesses. So
Okay. Right.
Largely she has to just suffer with reading whatever it is that I get, and that's it. So
Right.
yeah. Did you pick up any Marvel books?
Not new Marvel books, but
Yeah.
because of my boycott, I did pick up Shang-Chi, Master Kung Fu.
Mm.
And this was, I think it was like 81, if I
Right.
remember correctly. So it lets me know that Shang-Chi the name means the rising and advancing of a spirit. So it was very interesting to see this old 80s style idea that, I'm guessing white interpretation of a Chinese philosophy, but it's good. It's our hero is visiting his girlfriend who is in the hospital because she was trying to defend somebody with kung fu and was injured, and he's walking down the hallway and 2 people are trying to kill somebody in another room. So he quickly jumps in and saves it, figuring out that it's the old guy that he offended many issues ago who tried to sell him off at one time, and that. So it was interesting because it's always him in conflict of the guy who I have power, I can do what I want, and then there's his philosophy of I'm always supposed to be better than the other person, turn the other cheek, do all this good stuff. So it's always interesting to see his conflict of character with this is what what most people do, and this is what I'm supposed to do because I'm better. So he's always going to defend somebody that wronged him or whatever, even though he's like, I'm a better person. I'll do it because it's the social right. So he stops this drug den who is selling people and selling drugs. He goes back to tell the old guy, but on the way there, he has to fight these other assassins who have swords and the Japanese Yakuza. And so it was very interesting to see them, like he's the Chinese, they're the Japanese.
Right.
And there's a race through town to stop a guy with a sword from killing the old man. So he has to beat up all these people while trying to chase this last guy. It was fun. It was just a simple, pretty much one and done that does tie loosely with the overall arc of the story. And I mean, because what is this one? 101. I mean, so it was already, good chunk of issues through. So it was good. It was just a good, fun pickup, to read and enjoy. So also then I also picked up Alpha Flight, and I've always enjoyed the team. They're kind of a fun group. This one seems to be them starting off again because, well, it's an annual for one thing, so it's double sized.
Right.
I think it's almost 40 or 50 pages. It was enjoyable. I mean, the mansion that they're in has a spirit that is just figured out that it's this entity that used to own the house. The entity is somebody who was a bad guy. Actually, was a bad girl. It was the woman who loved The Alchemist. I think a Fantastic Four. Or wait, not The Alchemist. He is... Diablo, Master of Alchemy. That's what it is. So for those who know Diablo, and he's tired. He's tired of getting beaten by the good guys all the time. So she rescues him out of prison, brings him to the mansion, and he's like, there's a whole group of good guys here. I'm not going to fight them. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to get beat up every time. So, but his woman wants a body. She wants to live forever. Her spirit lives forever, but her body decayed because she did not do alchemy properly. So that's why she brought him back. And he's like, I don't want some old hag as a wife. And she gets all mad. And then she shows that she is in the body of our Alpha Flight members, the twins, not Jean, but his sister, who's got split personality disorder.
Aurora, is that what her name? Super name is?
So.
Yeah, it's North Star and Aurora. Yeah.
Yeah. So she inhabits that body, and then he looks at her and goes, well, yeah, maybe this will work out nice. So it's all of our good guys, trying to figure out the house. The house is haunted. They're all trying to break in. They're trying to rescue Aurora. Some of them are just newly coming into powers, like it's a new shaman. And Vindicator is Mrs. Hudson.
Right.
It was enjoyable. I mean, it was one of those fun, great reads, what an annual should be, just kind of one storyline that who knows if it ever touched or needed to be used in any part of it.
What annual number is that?
I mean, it says number 1, but it's 1986.
Huh.
So
I thought I was collecting Alpha Flight then, but for some reason that cover is not ringing any bells. So maybe I didn't pick that up.
If you want, there was 10 of them on the shelf, Travis. I can get you one.
That's okay, man.
So. No, that was the thing too. So my store's got a dollar wall, and you go through, and it's some 1986 books that they got 10 issues of. So,
nice.
You and all your friends can read a wonderful Alpha Flight, annual. So
the Alpha Flight was awesome in the 80s. That was a lot of fun. So at least I
enjoyed it. I liked the group.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Cool. I didn't realize that your dollar wall sold books that were that old, in the 80s. I thought it was all early 2000 stuff.
Cool. For a while there, they were trying to stick with alphabet wise, it's like W this month. And then,
oh, sure.
And so I think it was a lot of modern stuff, but I think they may have bought a couple people's collections that had some old stuff or a store that closed. So then they bought that out.
Well, you'd think so if they had like that many multiples of that annual, for instance. That's pretty funny. Yeah, cool.
And there's supposed to be, I think, a new Alpha Flight coming out, whether if it's a one-shot or a series startup again.
I think it's a one-shot.
All right.
Because I initially got excited because this would be the second time in the last, I don't know, 5 years that are going to do an Alpha Flight, and then, something was going to change. I mean, because they had that Alpha Flight that spun out of what was the hammer
the
one? There was
Omega,
that.
yeah.
Wasn't it like the hammer? There was the one with all the different hammers that Matt Fraction was in charge of, and it tanked really badly. But they
Possibly.
They had the Alpha Flight. It was a 4-issue miniseries, and then it was going to be an ongoing series. And by the time they got to issue 4, they had already canceled it before the regular series had even started. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, which was fine because I was getting it because I was all excited. Cool Alpha Flight's gonna be back, and it was not cool though. So, no big deal to have canceled it. So, yeah.
And I think during Dark Reign they had an Omega Flight series, either 6-issue or 12, and I grabbed most of that.
Yeah. Right on. Well, that's cool. I mean, jealous of you have a place where you have something where you can just kind of randomly go, spend a couple bucks and buy a couple random issues or something just for some fun to look at. And hey, the covers didn't melt in your hands either, right?
Yes, exactly. So
yeah. Cool. Okay. I trying to think Marvel news. I can't really think of anything. What, they're bringing back Marvel Zombies again? Is that right? I think I heard that.
I think I saw that. Yeah.
And the only reason I heard that is because I saw people cynically commenting on the fact that DC's Deceased must be selling well, so therefore, they're bringing back their own dead stuff. I have no idea. It seems like they bring back Marvel Zombies every so many years anyway, right?
Yes, usually, because I picked up the run with Howard the Duck and Dum Dum Dugan, and it was one of those where I thought it would be so stupid, and I picked it up and I enjoyed it. It was one of those things where it's like everything in comic books is weird, wacky, not true, not real life. So what does it matter? A talking duck is fighting and doing all this stuff. Right. Once I gave up on that little note, I enjoyed the series immensely.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the comments, and Sean Reyes is on tonight, and he's saying if Matt Fraction couldn't get an Alpha Flight series going, is there any hope? Well, Matt wasn't actually doing the Alpha Flight series. He was like one of the architects at the time for Marvel and Fear Itself, right? That's what it was. It was Fear Itself. Right?
Oh, Fear Itself. Yeah.
That's what it was. And it was just one of the odd books that spun out of that or whatever. But yeah. At any rate, I can't think of any other Marvel stuff. This was the week that the new Spider-Man movie came out. Of course, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen at least the last 2 live-action Spider-Man movies. So I would not be in line to have watched it. But I hear people enjoyed it, so that's a good thing. So
yeah.
Well, can't think of anything else. Let's move on to some DC books.
Yes.
What'd you read DC wise this week, Mike?
As always, Dial H. I believe it's probably actually a week old, but Dial H was very good. This one they ended up at Justice League Detroit, trying to figure out what to do with the phone.
Nice.
And of course they're met immediately by Robot Batman, who tells them, warning, you have 3 seconds to identify yourself. And quickly they're like, we're carrying the Dial H phone, and everything shuts down, like security wise. And who do they meet? They meet Snappy. Oh my goodness. He's a sidekick. Snapper Car, official mascot of the Justice League. So he's always there snapping his fingers and doing all this stuff. And he's like, I'm not really a mascot. I'm more of a sidekick. Mascots wear the big heads. And he's snapping his fingers and and they're like, is that a magic power? And they're like, no, it's just something I did stupid once, and now I have to do it all the time. So you get a little bit of back history on some of the Dial H stuff. So, you see the Dial Master or whatever, and Thunderbolt, who is the villain. They have his body, but his spirit is floating around. He figures out where the kids are with the phone, and Snapper keeps saying to him, you need to give me the phone. And he even then let slip that I once had the phone. And they're like, everybody who's had the phone is, sick with it. It's a drug to them where they have to keep dialing to get the superpowers. And so they don't want to do it. The best part about Detroit is also some of the items that you see there are Super Friends. I think that was Superman's ship. Why he had a spaceship toy with the Super Friends stuff.
Right.
I'll never understand, but I did love that toy. I think I had that one. Well, they all three dial it at once, and we get, of course, chimp change in that, Sin City style. The Alien Ice Cream Man, which I wonder if it was a play on Ice Cream Man, because it was a very interesting style. And then lastly, we have Little Miguelto. So our main guy, Miguelto, he's all upset by that. Of course, I do love the breakdown in the page. So you have this, it looks like it tears and then it goes into Ice Cream Man, tears, and then we get into Little Miguelto. But he doesn't want to be a baby, so he goes to dial it again. This wonderful Sin City artwork, of course, again. And when he does it, he becomes kind of Haggard the Horrible
Nice.
here. And he thinks there's something wrong with the phone, so he keeps trying to dial. And he becomes a Kathy knockoff. It just kind of keeps layering on this. But the bad guy talks him into dialing S for Sakamaji. And I think somebody else mentioned Sakamaji on Twitter recently. And that's, the main dialer's, little catchphrase. It's just been enjoyable. So I was very happy to read this, for that artwork style, like I mentioned. The style itself seems to be kicking into the story of it seems to be getting better, where we're figuring out now the main hero, main villain, using these people with the dial as pawns. And now we'll see where that goes. Because, this was issue 4, and I think it went to a 12 now. So I'll be very, very interested to keep up with this. I have little things that story-wise I want to find out, like his family and some other things, like why he's still writing these letters to Superman. But the art style, how they keep breaking it up, bringing in all these characters, that's another great hook for me. And it's the thing that's keeping me reading it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I wish there would have been more of that in the first issue. And I might have hung around if they had really exposed that in that first issue, them swapping up art styles as they become the different characters from the phone, that it changes the style that they're in and the environment around and whatnot. That would have been cool. If I would have seen that right away, I'd probably hang around and would have kept reading it, but it didn't really have that in that first issue. So yeah.
And the fact that they extended it out, I'm guessing that's what they talked with the editors about. And they said, pull more of this out. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, most of those Wonder comics got extensions, I think. Like the Wonder Twins got extended.
Yes.
Also, and thinking there was something else that was all slated to be 6 issues, and they moved them up to 12 issues. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. Well, good deal. Well, it's good that they're flexible, and that clearly that they must be getting the sales they want, or enough of a buzz that the trades will be well enough or whatever for those to keep kind of going on. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. So I'm reading Martian Manhunter still. This is issue 6, so we're halfway point of the 12-issue miniseries. The crazy Riley Rosmo art continues in this issue. This issue is largely him on Mars at the final days of Mars. He finally cops to his sins that he committed while on Mars, that he basically sold out the rest of the Martian Manhunters to save his family. He was hoping to get his family off planet with this contagion, this disease, this thought virus that's going through all the Martians that basically burns them up. So the whole fire thing, it comes from them just getting hot and kind of burning down and slopping into goo and being dead. Well, he separates his mind from the rest of the Mars intellect as they're catching this disease. He tells his family to separate themselves too. Things get kind of out of control. They get afraid and they go to what's comfortable. So his kid goes back into the mind link, and mom goes back in the mind link to get the kid, and they catch the contagion, and they basically literally slag to goo. I mean, they turn to goo. I mean, his final moments with his family. Yeah, that's his wife and kids right there. Just our slime left on his hands and whatnot. I'm liking the book more now. I wasn't really caring for it a whole lot. I really wanted to get back. I really was hoping this book would be the detective kind of thing. And it feels like we're going to get to that now, because he's finally told his human detective partner all the horrible stuff that he's done. He's trying to, now that he's on Earth, he's trying to make amends, to be the better person. And she's like, okay, well, I'm hoping that's the case because I need your help, and clearly you need mine. Let's go after these kidnappers, is how this issue ends. So I'm assuming now we're going to get more into the detective cop aspect of the story. But yeah, I mean, in this issue, we get to see two Martians have sex and have a baby all in one shot. So it's like they make the decision to, yeah, we're going to, and it's something else. Here you go. Probably not appropriate for standard YouTube, but there we are. There's two Martians going at it. And there they are birthing their daughter. Oh, isn't she cute? Some
awesome.
Yes, basically, it's like, wow, that's cool. It's so warped and weird. You can get away with putting that on in a teen plus comic, because of course you don't know what the hell is going on anyway. But no, it's been enjoyable. I mean, like I said, I enjoyed this issue more than I have been, a lot of it. And I'm excited, thinking going forward we're going to get the detective end of it, because I really would like to have a Martian Manhunter like ongoing, where he spends more time in the John Jones detective persona, and then occasionally goes off to to do the bigger, greater things, kind of a deal. But interesting stuff for the crazy Rosmo art, right? So
yeah. Well, I gotta imagine for detective stories, it's either cliche or it's so brand new you don't want to use it unless it's your own IP. Because a good mystery, I guess, is pretty rare.
Yeah. Well, so much of it's been done, right? What do you do to make it a little bit different? But I mean, I assume to some degree that's where the fact that he's also Martian Manhunter comes in. You can put this other odd stuff in there, or make it a little bit different, because you have that. You can only push the envelope so far with Batman, for instance. He's Batman, right? But if they're going to do a Martian Manhunter story, you could add other stuff because of the fact you've got this shape-shifting, intangible, mind reading, whatever, that I don't know. And maybe that makes it all that more difficult because he has all his powers. How hard is it to be a detective, right? I guess there is that too. So, yeah.
Superman syndrome.
Right. Well, he has to find a different avenue, a different story. And clearly, I'm not the writer for that, because I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But I would think there's got to be somebody out there that would. So, yeah. Speaking of Batman, Detective Comics, issue number 106. I was super excited for this. It's got the Spectre in it. I'm a huge Spectre fan. Love the Spectre. Mind you, the Spectre and Batman combined, how does that work? I am really continue to be really bummed with Tomasi. This was okayish. A group of people dressed up like the Spectre basically set up a trap to kind of bring the Spectre out, and they snatch Corrigan. They snatch the Spectre's host, and they're gonna, chop him up or do something horrible to him. So the Spectre needs Batman. Mind you, this is the hand of God. This is the wrath of God. Has to have Batman's help to find the people who stole his human host. I don't know. I've read comics in the past where the Spectre literally makes an entire world to give to Superman as a reward. So needing Batman to be a detective in Gotham cracks me up. But anyway, throwing that all out the door. I don't know. I'm just not. I don't know what happened. Tomasi for me is like lost his magic, and I tried going in after the last stuff. I tried going into this with kind of an open. I mean, I like the art. The art's cool. I mean, that's a cool scene. You know, the Spectre hunting Batman down. And Batman at the beginning of the issue, he's like running. He's like doing everything he can to get away from the Spectre because he just knows the Spectre's bad news. Oh, nothing to do with the guy. He's hardcore. I got to get away from him. I got to get away from him. And like I said, it was cool. I mean, the Spectre here, he's the Wrath, the Spectre. It's literally his eyeballs talking. I mean, there's some cool stuff. Art-wise, it's great. But I don't know. Dialogue and stuff, Batman doesn't seem right. Gordon doesn't seem right. Yeah, I'm just kind of really bummed as a whole about Detective Comics. I know some people are excited about it. I really think I'm done. I don't know. I just Tomasi's not doing it for me, and Detective Comics as well as comics I don't walk away from easily, and I don't hate it, but it's just disappointing enough, and there's a million other comics out there for me to read, right? So I don't need to keep picking it up just to pick it up. So yeah, Jockio's saying that he thinks Tomasi told all of his good Batman stories already on Batman and Robin in New 52, which may be the case. I really liked his Superman stuff though too. I was really enjoying that. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bummer. I briefly thought that was Private Peanut, and then I'm like, no, that's way too small for Private Peanut.
She offered me her dolly for just a moment. So
nice. You got any other DC books?
No, it was just Dial H for me.
Okay, so I got one more, and I am totally, absolutely, completely digging this book. Justice League Dark, issue number 12. This is the Chaos Reigns, the last issue. Zatanna and Wonder Woman had basically embodied chaos magic in its rawest form to go up against, of course, Dr. Fate and his, Lords of Order, kind of a deal. And part of me in the back of my head, I was dreading that because, I mean, then they're going to have to deal with the whole, oh no, we're all chaos now. How do we fix ourselves now? We're all chaos. That doesn't become an issue in this. They show up, they cause chaos. They juice up the rest of the Justice League Dark, and they battle the Lords of Order for a little bit and basically break Dr. Fate down and basically push Dr. Fate Anub back into the helmet. So now the helmet is really the powerful thing. And now they're like, okay, we got to be careful. Nobody touch the helmet until we're ready to touch the helmet. But they got control back of it and whatnot. But the art in this issue, it continues to just be excellent. Martinez Bueno, I think just does a really good job. There's some flashbacks to the past of Wonder Woman setting up the Justice League Dark, and then to the current things that's going on that kind of tie together. But here's our Justice League Dark all amped up with chaos. I mean, so there's Detective Chimp, who just now looks totally badass and maniacal with this, with this sword. I mean, he's completely bonkers. He's chasing after stuff, and they get in these big fights. It's all, like I said, just really dynamic, super exciting art. They beat this back. They decide, there's a better way to fight the magic from the other place, from the upside down place, other than giving up, because that's basically what the Lords of Chaos had decided. They were just going to give up, let everybody die, and then hopefully start over, kind of a thing. Basically suicide and hope that they can start over afterwards. So they settle all that down in, and next we'll get, I'm assuming we're going to get some resolution to fight the monsters from the other place. But no, it was good. It was good action, good. The narration parts of it all worked out really well and whatnot. And like I said, really dynamic art. This has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the Justice League Dark quite a bit. Even though we're on issue 12 and they're still dealing with literally the same subject, the same nemesis is out there from issue 1, but it doesn't feel long and dragged out because it's kind of like they're meeting smaller goals to then get to the the greater goal down at the end of it. So I don't know, I'm excited for it. And like I said, by the end of this, they were able to kind of shut down and throw off the chaos. Because my first worry was when they embraced the chaos was, oh great, now we're gonna get like 4 issues of Wonder Woman and Zatanna potentially being almost evil, because they're embracing chaos to the point of wrecking everything. But they were able to throw those shackles off pretty easy and move on. So that was pretty cool.
And that's the same sword from the beginning then, the Demon Knights or the Night Stalker sword that owned the bar?
Yes, it's okay. The Midnight Sword. Yeah. It's changed obviously because look, I got chaotic, so it looks more like a giant cleaver than it. But it's the same. It's the same sword which he goes to town with because of course he makes it so it can cut through magic and whatnot. So he just starts cutting their reality away. At one point, Zatanna actually folds up one of the Lords of Order. She actually takes the panel, actually grabs the panel and folds it up. Right here. Yeah, she grabs the panel. She grabs the panel that he's on and scrunches it up and then actually tears it apart, which I thought was some fun panel work and sequential art there of her wrecking that, which is pretty cool. So yeah. It was fun.
And you mentioning sequential art, of course, I've been more of an Alex Ross guy. I go for the realism. I like that very sharp, very pretty picture. Digging back into some of the books that I got from the 80s, it was very nice because it was all about sequential art. It was about using movement of style in that. So I definitely recommend people pick up old books every once in a while just to fully be able to see the medium and everything that's been done in it. Because sometimes I get a little too much on the far end. So
sure, definitely. Well, that's hard to go wrong with an Alex Ross cover, for instance. That's awesome. Yeah. But definitely when I get inside, there's a whole different other mechanic I think involved. It's not the realism of it that makes a lot of that comic book artwork, I think. So yeah. Looking over the comments, Sean was saying that they should make a Chaos Detective chimp action figure. That would be awesome.
Yeah,
that would be awesome. The whole group, I get a whole group of the whole thing and whatnot. Yeah. And the comic book commenter
they'll do it.
Yeah, and the comic book commenter was commenting the fact that he likes Dr. Fate, but wasn't crazy for the whole Lords of Order thing and whatnot. He's hoping to get back to the other kind soon, which I think they are. I mean, I think that's what's coming next is they're going to get back into that, that end of it, kind of a deal. And I'm curious to see what they actually do with the Helmet of Fate. I'm curious to see if the young apprentice picks it back up and uses it again, or if Kent will go back to still be Dr. Fate or not. It would be interesting to see what they choose to do there. So,
because when I read it last, was he still trapped in the vase that they would break and then it would reform?
Yeah, they had gotten him out of that.
Okay.
Yeah, Langstrom, Man-Bat had messed around with enough magic science to get him broken loose from that kind of thing. So he's now running around and whatnot. So.
And in this storyline, does Constantine have one of those nice House of Mystery, House of something?
No, not in this point. The House of Secrets. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Not at this point. He doesn't. Haven't actually seen. Constantine's been out of the picture. Swamp Thing has been around. This issue also had Jason Blood in it. A very old Jason Blood because they had broken his magic. They'd separated him from the demon, so he was very quickly aging, getting up to his Arthurian age. So yeah, some fun stuff. DC news-wise, I did notice that they announced that Joe Hill is going to be curating a line of horror comics, and they all look cool. I'm confused. So it's its own comics, but it's still in DC because there's no Vertigo. But this is all stuff that would have fallen into Vertigo, right? So, whatever. I mean, I don't get that, but it is whatever it is. I am curious to check out most of those books though. So,
And I'm guessing they say, it should have fallen under whatever DC Dark now or DC Black, whatever their little
the Black
thing is.
Label, yeah,
Black Label, yeah. But I'm sure it's also to get him there, they have to give him his own imprint, like they did Bendis and that.
right, 100%.
So
100%. I totally get it. I mean, it's like Young Animals with Gerard Way. It's the same thing. Give them their own thing. That way they, are a little more or whatever. But a lot of that stuff is really cool. I mean, it looks really cool anyway. There's some great writers in there. There's a woman who I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. It was a disembodied voice for Christmas. I'll just buy her random novels, whatever. And this woman's short stories I'm going to pick up. And the stories are really disturbing. I mean, they're good. They're really good. But they just have really eerie things about them that just kind of hang, that stick with you after you've read them. So her writing a comic book, a story for comic books sounds cool. We'll see if her prose, makes it, onto the page, because prose is clearly different than comic books. So we'll see how that all, plays together. Obviously, that's where editors come in. So hopefully they get her hooked up with some good editors to, make it a good story as far as that stuff goes. But so yeah, I will try all of those. I think they're all slated as being 6-issue mini series, which means I know some people, that means they're just going to wait to get it in trade because they know that's all it's going to be.
Yeah.
For me, I'm just the opposite. I'll get it in singles because I know it's not that huge of an investment. If it's something that ends up being not exactly what I want, it's not like I'm trying to figure out how to make something long term out of something that isn't. But no, I think it's cool. I think it's smart. I think it's with his name kind of out there, he's got the TV show going right now and stuff like that. It has the potential to draw in non-comic book readers to maybe check out his comics. Anybody who's big Lock and Key fans, I would assume will show up for this just to see what what it's like and that sort of thing. So
it just seems like after the big hullabaloo on we don't have Vertigo because people get mixed up on what Vertigo is and all that all of a sudden they bring in this whole horror series.
Yeah.
It just seems weird on their branding nature.
Right. Well, I think the whole Vertigo, it being the plug pulled on it is a, purely corporate thing. I think that's, with the new AT&T buyout being complete and new people being put in charge of some of the higher up, the people who are making those decisions don't read comic books. I would, bet real money that they're not paying attention. It's purely a corporate level decision and whatnot. And the people who are actually involved in the comics, the Dan Didio's, the Jim Lees and whatnot, they're probably trying to do the best they can and keep their jobs, kind of a thing. How do I appease these people who are up here who don't know anything about it? How do I make it, palatable for those people who don't know anything, but still keep comics running and whatnot. And I just hope that the people way at the very top understand that comic books are not ever going to make the money that movies make. It's just not going to ever happen. But cool stuff is created in comics that obviously they can mine to make movies with. Cool, fine, whatever. But just understand that the source material is never going to be the profit-making machine that the movies are. I would hope that if you're looking at those two things and trying to make some comparison, you take some of the movie money and throw it at comic books. So when the comic books aren't making money, you're still getting this potential gold mine of story ideas to then take to the big screen. I hope. I don't know, but comics are changing. They always are. They probably always will. So we'll just ride out whatever the next thing is. And, who knows, maybe for a while, comics will be the novelty item that vinyl records are or whatever. I don't know, but as long as they stick around in some sense. So.
Yeah. I did go to the zoo today. I was wearing my wonderful Teen Titans shirt. And this is almost like a litmus test sometimes because I'll have somebody stop me and go, no, unfortunately, I almost always hear the same thing. That's my Teen Titans. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. You know, there was comic book and then there was this and then now there's Teen Titans Go. And it's all for different people and it's all the Titans. Let's just be happy. But yeah, so I always get somebody who'll stop me and say, you know, oh, that's the Titans. So.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. Definitely,
Yeah.
and clearly, Teen Titans Go is for a particular audience, and the Titans that's on the DC app is for a whole different audience.
Yes.
Yes. That is such a gory F-bombed. Wow, it's fun. I'm having fun watching it. I'm not watching it like one right after the other, but it is fun for being its own thing. But yeah, for sure.
And are you still doing DC app or are you done?
No, I'm still doing it. I decided that dollar-wise, because I wasn't going to get to watch it all like super fast to have watched it within like a month or something. I just bought it for the year. I dropped the $70 or whatever it was. So I have it for the year so I can watch it at my leisure, kind of a thing. I did power through the Doom Patrol. Absolutely loved it. It's probably my favorite comic book derived TV show in existence. Largely because it's Doom Patrol. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I liked it beyond that because it embraced some really good stuff about Doom Patrol. It embraced the kind of screwed up family drama aspect of Doom Patrol that I really like and has always kind of hinted in the good runs of Doom Patrol. I haven't watched this week's Swamp Thing, but me and the family have been watching Swamp Thing basically every week as it's come out. It has been excellent. It definitely falls more on the lines of a horror show. I mean, there are actual jump scares in it and stuff. So I mean, it has its moments, but it has been really cool. And it's been really fun to watch it to see how, what Swamp Thing is it going to be? How much of like the Snyder, the green and the red and the rot are they going to play into? And they've kind of hinted at there being the green. I mean, they've definitely hinted that there's the equivalent of the Parliament of Trees somewhere. So it's that
just so long as his big wings come popping out and they put a cape on him, making him the superhero that he is.
I haven't seen that part yet. He still doesn't know exactly who he is yet. He's still trying to figure. He's still trying to figure that all out because we're only like 4 episodes in. So yeah. So I mean, no. So it's cool. It's cool. Like I said, I think I'm about halfway through the Titans. I watched that when me and my daughter just have some free time and we're not really feel like anything else. We'll watch an episode of that. So, and I know people didn't like Starfire, and I think she's like the best thing out of that entire show. I love her walking around in her purple outfits and her fur coat, just cooking the hell out of things and whatnot. So, it's been fun. We haven't started watching the Young Justice cartoon yet, but I'm looking forward to jumping in that. I've watched some old Shazam because I used to watch that as a little kid. Those are so horrible. They are so bad, and they are so like after school special. I mean, literally at the end of each episode, Captain Marvel lands down and goes, "Hey kids, you should not bully people." It's got some message at the end of it that's just it's so cheesy, but fun for that. So those are good laugh. We've been watching their Wonder Woman, and I've attempted to read 2 comics on my television and have given up. So the people who love it for reading all the comics, awesome. I just can't do it. So yeah, I've noticed that somebody was commenting on the fact that they thought the DC app was canned. It isn't gone yet, but I know there's conversation about what are they going to continue to do with it. Are they going to continue to have it? Is it all going to get folded into some larger AT&T Warner app? Who knows? So
that's what I heard too. There were people that I know that were talking about it, and they said they most likely get some credit back or to the Warner app, and then they'll just jump into that.
Right. So. And everybody who's watching this that lives outside of the United States, like Sean is commenting that because Sean, is outside the United States, that you can't even get access to the stupid thing, which is the dumbest thing in the world.
Yes.
And it's hard to get access to it even in the United States. I waited for a long time waiting for it to like get access through PlayStation or something like that. I finally went and bought a Roku hookup just to watch damn things, just because of the Doom Patrol. If they would have had a Doom Patrol show, I still wouldn't even have the damn thing. But I did get the Roku just for that. But it's annoying. It's stupid how hard they made that. It makes no sense at all. I mean, I don't understand why they wouldn't. I mean, I don't know what the issues are. Why they wouldn't open it up worldwide is beyond me, because they're just leaving tons of money on the on the table. Well, hell, half of my comic book friends are not U.S. citizens.
Right.
I mean, so there's this giant audience out there waiting to watch all that stuff that doesn't have access to it. So I don't know. But
Well, it was a bad launch, I think. So.
Well, I could see initially just doing US, but then you'd have to have a plan pretty quick to like open it up to more stuff.
Yeah.
Other DC news, I can't rightly think of any.
No.
Yeah. So, all right, we're gonna move on to some independent books. I have a huge stack. I do not know how many I will actually talk about. So,
all right, dig in.
So I'm gonna start out with my Brutal Noodles. I'm wearing my Brutal Noodles t-shirt here. Weatherman is back. It says Weatherman issue 1. The fine print is it's volume 2, issue 1. So clearly they're going the route of they're going to tell an arc and then start over the number 1 to tell the next arc. But this issue, number 1, takes off immediately where the last issue left off at. Our main characters are crashing into Earth, which was pretty much annihilated. A viral bomb was dropped there, which killed most of the population, like within hours. People were killed in it, and they're taking the Weatherman to Earth because that's where they think a scientist is hiding who swapped personalities with this guy and this terrorist, this Lamb of God terrorist guy who basically wants to annihilate most of the human population because he believes that the human population is basically a virus on the universe and they should all be eliminated. So our quote unquote heroes, the police people, are taking him along because they want to brain swap them back so he's back to his old personality. And then they would basically want to torture or whatever they need to do to get the information out of him as to where the next bombs are going to go off because they've got this viral bomb other places. And, then they'll probably put him up for execution. So the Weatherman is not really excited about all of this because he's kind of a goofy, fun-loving guy and can see what's coming. He's like, I'm not that person anymore, but you're still all going to kill me, and I know it. They're all trying to be, oh, it's chill, it's no big deal. And he's like, I'm laughing on the outside, but I know inside you people are planning on murdering me. I am not this horrible monster that you think I am, kind of a deal. But I still really like it. Great Nathan Fox art in it. Brilliant colors. There's all kinds of strangeness goes on it. They do land on Earth. Like I said, Earth has been exposed by this horrible gas that just basically dissolves the flesh right off of people. There are little outposts of normal people that are still alive that haven't been exposed yet. Yeah, see, here's the effects of the gas. My camera focuses. It basically just slagging people. But they land on Earth. They're going to go look for this scientist. They're like, well, it's no big deal. They're kind of joking and laughing. And here's this giant 2-page spread of these skyscrapers. All the white stuff is bones and skulls that are higher than the skyscrapers. I mean, because this is a mountain of bones and skulls of all of the people that have died. Why they're all stacked up in a big pile like that, I'm not exactly sure. We may find out in the next issues because they're like freaking out over how bad this and they're basically going, okay, let's get moving. And the one lady's like, no, and she lost all of her family on Earth. And she's like, no, he needs to see all of this. And of course, it's not him. He didn't do it.
Yeah.
But they all want to make him. And he's like, well, at least they're all dead. And of course, the last panel, no, they're not. They're actually, the skeletons are staying up, flesh is wrapping back around them, and it looks like they're going to get attacked by zombies. But I love it. It's just some really good stuff. There's your Brutal Noodles. Excited.
Yeah, I read that in trade, and I thought that was a great idea. On do you punish somebody even though they're not that person anymore?
Right.
It's I guess probably an analogy on the idea of a reformed convict, or
Right.
So it was enjoyable to read that, and I'll be happy to jump back into it on trade when it comes back out again.
Right.
So.
Right, for sure. And I just thought it was, like I said, I'm assuming they're going the route they're going with a volume 2, number 1. People see the number 1, pick it up. It does have it when you open it up on the inside cover. It says what happened, to get you up to date if you hadn't picked up the book up until this point. So, anyway, Isola, I don't know how you want to say it. This is issue number 8. Continues to be really enjoyable. It is a very quiet book. It is all art. It's very little dialogue. Between our soldier and the queen, who is a tiger, they're trying to reach this destination, and they keep running into awful stuff in between. They run into this woman who seems to be maybe preparing them for stew. It seems potentially by the end of it. I really like it. I would be inclined to say pick this thing up in trades, though, at this point, because as gorgeous as it is, it doesn't seem like a lot happens in it either. It's kind of a ambiance book. You just kind of, for me anyway, that's how I do it. It's one of those kind of things where I read through it, but I'm reading through it just solely for the visual look of the book. It almost has a animated feel to it, like these are stills, like cells from some sort of an animated movie, but it still has a good sequential movement to it, so it doesn't feel like it's truly stills. But it is just a very, very pretty book. But look, there's pages and pages that really do not have squat for dialogue, just a little bit of dialogue in it. It really is really largely dependent on the story, the panel layouts and whatnot. The art is what makes it is what makes the book. But it's cool. It's a really cool book.
And I heard some people say that if you turn the cover over, it's supposed to look like it says tiger.
If I turn the cover over?
Upside down. So where it says Isola.
Does it?
Yeah, the S doesn't look so much like an E.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a goofy font anyway. As I've said for a lot of issues, it's just, to me, it's a I don't know. It's cool. It's a gorgeous book. It's a really, really gorgeous book. I dig it for the art. What do you got?
Farmhand number 9. In this issue, Jeb, as we can see, the main character's father, who runs this farm that it grows new parts for bodies, eyeballs, arms. So you literally pick a limb off of a tree, which is somebody's arm, and then it attaches to the person, and then Jed speaks the word, and it instantly starts working. So that's what's supposed to happen. He has a magical seed that helped create all these plants, and it's connected to him. In this story, one of the people comes back because he's hearing voices in his head. I think the flowers around his eyes, or his eye starts growing a flower. And so he's trying to figure out what's going on. He wants Jed to fix him. Jed doesn't know what's going on. The guy freaks out and has immense strength, and then puts Jed in the hospital. Our main guy then bumps into the mayor, who has obviously some connection to the plant world now. Her and Jed's father have been, I don't know, partners in the past or whatever. So now we're finding more and more out about the mystery of the plant, what's going on. All these people are starting to have plant outgrowths. So sometimes there's a flower that comes out their neck, or leaves on their back, or something along those lines. So it's continuing to be really a good growth of the storyline. And this makes me really feel like Rob Gilroy was most of the story of Chew when I read it, because I know people were talking about, what was it, Giganto or whatever, the one that the other guy wrote, and it didn't sound at all very good. Yeah, Layman's book. And of course, just once again, all that Gilroy art in there is just reminiscent of Chew, just wonderful. So this one, I just love every single issue of it. It appears that everybody who had some kind of plant implant is now being activated, and now they're being summoned. Some of them are connected to this lady and some aren't. So we're trying to figure out what the whole story on that is, which for anybody who read Chew, you knew the story kept growing and growing and growing, that it was bigger. It was always tied in back to every little piece that you saw at the beginning. So enjoyable. I really hope everybody does read that book.
Oh, cool. I'll have to pick up the first trade just to check it out. Whatnot. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Right on. Let's see. Quickly, Eve's Stranger, issue number 2, part of the Black Crown imprint there with IDW, Shelley Bond's imprint of the old Vertigo stuff and whatnot. Largely the same as issue 1. She wakes up every day, doesn't know who she is, has to read a note to kind of explain what's going on, that she's like some super soldier of sorts. And she's always got some mission she has to complete, and she does some fancy stuff. The only thing that's added to the story this time is this man is some guy who's in love with her, and she ends up being in love with him every time every time she runs into him. She thinks that he's a hot babe, and they get it on too. High on pop cutesiness and low on actual meat to the story, kind of a thing. So I can appreciate it for the wink and nod. We're kind of cool and modness of it, which is a Shelley Bond thing I always feel like, and I can appreciate it for that. But there needs to be some more actual meat to the plot, to the story, quickly. Otherwise, those window dressing things don't have anything to hang on, and then I'm not going to enjoy it as much. So I'm hoping we get more of that along the way. Deadly Class continues to be a strong book. Marcus is back at school along with Maria. They're now like top dogs. Schleb and the others who were the top dogs are trying to figure out how to get rid of them now. They try a coup that does not go well. And at the end of the book, Soya is back. So we'll see how that all plays out. Is she going to be with the old group? Is she against the old group because they've been separated for so long and so much history has happened between them? Hard to tell. Still really, really like the book quite a bit. I do feel like that Craig's art has gotten loose. The panels and page layouts are still excellent, but the art itself isn't as sharp as what it was like the first 20 issues or whatever. We're on 39 now. As a side note, I really enjoyed the TV show. The TV show did not get picked up, so it is done. There is no more TV show after the first season. But I thought it was well casted. I thought it was well written. They tweaked some stuff for the TV show versus the comic, which makes sense because things are told at a different pace in comic books than they are on television. So, but like I said, I still really enjoy the book. Happy every time it comes out.
It makes me wonder what kind of ratings you have to get that it didn't get picked back up.
Right. It didn't have the right kind of buzz or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it was on the Sci-Fi Channel. I mean, was it super expensive to make, and that's why the Sci-Fi Channel chose not to do it? I mean, have you seen some of the crap though that's on the Sci-Fi Channel?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, so some of those horrible movies that they show on there, I'm like, this was a way smarter show. And man, and don't get me wrong, I get the dumb sci-fi movie and the enjoyment of the dumb sci-fi movie because it is that, and you embrace it for the kind of dumb of it. But yes, I don't know. I don't know what it. I don't know what it takes. Kind of a thing. You know. But I know they try shopping it around. I don't know how hard that is or whatever. I don't know. There's just too much stuff in the background that I don't know about. But I'll be curious now with the not successful TV show. Does Rick Remender get back to writing more new stuff? He's basically been. I mean, it's not that he hasn't been working; he clearly has.
Right.
But he's got these these few books, and that's what he's been doing, and not doing any others. So I don't know. Are we going to see something else by him? I'm curious to see if he'll have different energies to do something different or whatever. So, yeah. You got any others you want to talk about?
Do you have your Gideon number 14?
I don't have it here, but I will gladly talk about it because I've been wanting to talk to somebody about this book.
All right, go ahead and get started then.
So, issue 14, we continue on with the current story where it's at. We're following a priest who has basically dimension/time hopped around chasing the man with the giant smile. And he lands himself someplace where everybody knows who he is. They call him the bishop, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, of course you don't know what you're talking about yet, because you haven't been here yet, but you've already been here. And this is what you're going to do. And this is what we're going to do. And yay. And is this a horror comic anymore?
See, I think that's a problem with anything that Lemire does. Is I think he gets tired of it. That yes, there was that horror book, and then now it's this time, because from what I hear about Black Hammer, it was a superhero book, but now it's a space book. Now it's it just keeps getting more and more meta.
Yeah, well, the Black Hammer, at least to me, still feels like it's still in the realm of superheroes because that kind of encompasses a lot of stuff, and he's still kind of flirting with old Justice League and Justice Society type stories. So I'm okay with that one. But this, to me, it's really. Don't get me wrong, I'm still enjoying the book.
Yeah.
But now I'm trying to buy into a different book than the first 7 issues or whatever of the book.
Yeah. So in my belief, I don't remember what the guy calls it. There is some central devil-like figure, creature that said that, Norton was special, and Norton became the smiling man, who has this power of being able to do this traveling, and nobody else is supposed to. Well, now the bishop, Fred, I believe it's Father Fred, the first priest who ended up being missing, that I believe that's him. And so then he goes through and he becomes the bishop who sends the second father to come and do the investigation.
Right.
So it seems, I'm sure there is some elaborate drawing on Lemire's wall with looping time ones, which I think they kind of show in this one.
They have a map.
A little bit of this, whatever this is supposed to mean.
The map,
with that, the nexus in the middle, and timelines and him jumping back and forth. So yes, a little bit of horror, because I think it's going to come down to Norton, the smiling man, and the bishop pastor, and then they're just going to keep working everybody else from the storyline back into it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's doing a good job of tying back together again, because now you're like, oh, that's why that bishop that kept calling our first priest seems so weird. Right? Like he was like he was almost diabolical in some way or another. Well, because he's already seen all this random, crazy, awful stuff. So okay, okay, now we know why that's the way it is, and now we can kind of now we know why the story started out with what seemed like two different Gideon Falls. Okay. So if I start picking at the kind of like almost sci-fi elements of the story, it all matches together well and is meshing well as far as that goes. But I was so heavily invested in this book being this creepy black bar and this awful smiley, jagged, multi-smiley thing and whatnot, this kind of this, quasi serial killer kind of thing. Oh no, that was just kind of that was just one weird dimension. There's all these other, versions of Gideon Falls where all this other, steampunk stuff or whatever, stuff is going on that it's like, oh, this isn't even remotely the comic I thought it was going to be, which I don't know. Sometimes that's okay, but it too long for me. I got so invested in it being a horror comic.
Yeah.
Whereas, like in the case of Paper Girls, right? I went into that thinking it's going to be a horror book because it's set on Halloween night, and it's got these girls and all this. And then, instantaneously, the first issue immediately let me know, no, it's not a horror book. It's all this other crazy stuff.
Yeah.
This book suckered me into a horror book long enough that now I'm like going, wait, where's my horror book at? I was enjoying that horror book.
And I think there still will be, because we do have the Smiling Man. I think it's two opposing forces with this nexus thing in the middle. And so, yeah, there's going to be a lot more sci-fi and fun elements that Lemire wants to keep introducing, so he's not bored, is what part of my guess on this. It can be whatever he wants it to be.
Right.
So,
yeah. Well, I said I'm not disliking it. I'm enjoying it. It's still an interesting read and whatnot, but it does feel like I was somewhere along the way I got robbed of the book that I thought I was reading. But I'm supposed to just be reading it for the adventure that it is and whatnot. I will say this: of all this kind of weird, dimensional stuff going on, that sort of stuff, it gives Sarantino lots of room to just
play with the paneling and do all that. Yeah, once again,
yep.
We see the busted paneling is free form style. Yes.
Yeah. So that's all cool. Anything that gives him room to go nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the wildness of
literally folding in on itself and whatnot. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's good stuff. That's good stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I am still reading Ghost Tree. This is issue 3. I picked it up for the Simon Gaines artwork. He's the guy who did the artwork on the last thing he was working on that I'm aware of was They're Not Like Us, which I loved a lot. I just really like his style. This is a sweet story set in Japan about this young man who can go to this tree that's on his old family's property, and he can see ghosts there. Lots of ghosts show up, and it happens to be a ghost of a teenage girlfriend of his is there. His personal life is a wreck. He's becoming more and more invested in the ghosts that are there. His grandfather, who is deceased, is there. We find out that his grandfather had this ability to see the ghosts too, and we're getting the impression that grandfather kind of let his real life kind of get away from him. He wasn't invested in it, and now he feels bad because his wife feels like he didn't love him, because he never told her about the ghost, because that would mean he was crazy, right? And so now he's trying to convince his grandson not to go down the same road he went down. And the grandson's like, no, my marriage is a wreck. Here I can talk to my first girlfriend. She is nothing but amazing, kind of thing. And there's some other weird ghost things going on. There's something kind of potentially eating the ghost or something. So there's some somewhat action suspense there too. But I've been enjoying it. It's been a sweet story so far. And like I said, I just really, really like Simon Gaines' artwork. I like characters that he makes and whatnot. So Killer Grooves issue number 2. This is Aftershocks comic. So we have a guy who is a guitarist, wants to be a big music star and whatnot, but he's also like a natural born killer. He gets hooked up with a guy who is an assassin. So basically his day job is like roughing people up and killing people, and he's also got this gig is trying to be a rock and roll guy and whatnot. Meanwhile, there's another story going on of this woman who is a private detective. She is an ex police officer. She was removed from the police force for taking bribes, we find out. She's on a case. She's been hired by a little girl to find her dad. She finds in this issue that dad is dead. This thing is set in the like mid 70s kind of a deal. It's all right. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm curious to see what it kind of settles into. Um, I think there's some potential, selling your soul at the crossroads kind of thing, potentially maybe going to go on, and I'm not 100% sure on that part yet, but it's been okay. Been okay so far. Punk Mambo, issue number 3 from Valiant Comics. I've really been enjoying the heck out of this. It's like an old Hellblazer, John Constantine story, except it's Punk Mambo in his place. She's a little more punk rock than what Constantine was, because most of the time in his book, he's already kind of the old codger. And there's a little more flashy magic in this than what you'd normally see in a Hellblazer book, but otherwise it has all the same kind of elements. Lots of different spirits and godlike powers wrestling with each other, trying to gain power and using mortals as pawns in the process of that. The artwork is great in it. It has a definite old school Vertigo kind of a feel to it, just the way it's the way it's colored, the way it's drawn and whatnot. It's been fun. I don't know how many issues this thing is going to be. I want to say it's 5. Yeah, 5. It is 5 issues. So I got 2 more issues of it. So it's been a fun little read. Written by Cullen Bunn, art by Adam Gorham. So it's been cool. It's had some good elements to it. So you got any other indie books to talk about, Mike?
No, I just had the 2.
Okay, I'm just gonna blaze through a few of these others then. End of Headlopper for this is like the 3rd volume of Headlopper. This was a okay story. The first volume of Headlopper was still the best in my opinion. We explore some of Headlopper's back story in this. I don't know that I'm interested in that. I just want to see cool, giant, crazy action shots of them chopping things up and whatnot, and Agatha, the severed witch head, being gross, and I'm happy. This is one of those books for me. The more simple you can keep it, the better, as far as a lot of the elements go. But it's cool. It's got some great shots in it. The coloring by Jody Belair is great for being. No, it's a simple comic. It's not complexly drawn, but it has.
And it's still coming out quarterly.
Yes, it comes out quarterly. It's a super thick, not square bound, like 80 pages each time, which is perfect. It gives you enough to get a really good, trade's worth of a read basically out of it. Yeah, look at that. Right?
Yeah.
A flying giant serpent. So I really like it. I mean, for this kind of a story coming out this way, I really enjoy it. Whereas like with Lazarus, which I really like that book. I love the story. It's a quarterly book also, but it's only like 44 pages, a whole bunch of back matter, and not nearly as much comic for the money for the same price. And this is $5.99, so it's $1 more than the others. But like I said, you're getting 80 plus pages worth of comic in it. So it had some weird elements in it. There were a couple pages in here where they actually, like this page, they actually show arrows to tell you how to read it. I thought that was weird, because to me that page isn't that complicated to know what order to read it in. I don't know. So I thought that was strange. But there was more than once they did that. And I don't like it. If a comic book has to have arrows to tell you which panel to read next, I feel like it's failed in some way. The page layout here, here they are chopping the snake up. That's just a great, action scene of them chopping. She falls inside of it with a sword, and then she just lop, 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 lop. I mean, I don't know. It's cool. It's some cool stuff.
Yeah, I remember some artists on Twitter would show like how they would do a panel, and it would show, like this links to this, and your eye is supposed to follow the movement. Yeah.
Right. And if it doesn't, then you've done something wrong with the panel, I think. Yeah. Let's see. Quickly talk about this. Maryland Manor, issue number 1. It doesn't say Black Crown on anywhere, but this is another Black Crown, a Shelley Bond edited book. Magdalene Vizco does the art, and Marley Zarcone does the artwork on it. Last thing she did was Shade the Changing Girl, Shade the Changing Woman. So I really enjoy it just because of the artwork in it. It definitely has that feel to it. This is set in the 80s. This would basically be the Reagan era of the presidency. So this is not Reagan, it's somebody else. He has a daughter. The daughter pretty much is kind of out of control. Mom and dad go to like China for some trade negotiations and whatnot, and she throws a party in the White House. Is what the first issue entails. And there's some kind of hint that the White House is like the metaphorical heartbeat of America. What goes on in the White House then radiates out to the rest of the world. So she's like, awesome, let's throw this big, cool, drug-crazed love party, and that'll radiate out into the rest of the country. And of course, that will make the rest of the country be all happy and whatnot. So party ensues. So it wasn't a bad first issue. We'll be curious to see where what goes on after it. So a book I don't see much about. Nobody is Control, Part 2, The Missile. This is from Black Mask. I can't remember if I've actually seen solicitations for issue number 3 or not, which is a problem I have with most Black Mask books. They're horrible at being consistent at putting a book out on timely. So the premise of the book is there's a guy who was a radio disc jockey, and he was like a Art Bell kind of a radio disc jockey. You know, he has a talk show that has to do with conspiracy theories and tinfoil hat, type stuff and whatnot. He is retired because he's just, he's sick of all the actual fake news that's out there. He doesn't want to be part of the fake news. So he's basically kind of secluded himself off in the forest. While he's hanging out in the forest, some guy goes running through his backyard who looks like he's been shot and looks like he's in trouble. So he tries to help the guy because that's kind of the neighborly thing you do, so he kind of gets engrossed in this guy. He is running from actual black helicopters. So he's supposed to be telling our main character what's going on while they're kind of like he's helping the guy through the woods so he can escape whatever he's running from. So this issue number 2, The Missile, he talks about all the mass shootings that have gone on in the United States and whatnot, and what's that really about and whatnot, and that it's mind control. But of course, as soon as you say mind control, that's like, yeah, there's no such thing as mind control. So he's kind of explaining how it all works and whatnot, and it's all baloney, right? But it's really interesting, the kind of conversation about the fact that, when did the first ones happen and what was going on, and this guy that's telling this story is kind of implying that not all of the mass shootings are actually after a particular target. This is just kind of things are exploding so they can get to the official targets that somebody is after, whoever that is. Well, one of the interesting things about the storytelling is it's not like the art is super great in it, but as he's telling examples of like, well, do you remember when this happened? Because they're talking about a subway shooting that happened in either 81 or 84, an actual shooting that went on. And while they're talking about that, instead of running through the forest, they're actually in a subway car where the shooting happened. So as these different stories, the artwork changes depending on where they're at and what they're doing, kind of a deal. They get into some video games. They're talking video games, so they're running through a video game while that part's going on. Just kind of a really curious story. The next issue is Part 3, and it's called Dog Shelter. I'm curious to see why that's called Dog Shelter, because this one is called Missile because the guy that's telling them about this is basically saying, look, these people that are mind controlled into doing these mass shootings, they're not fine machinery. They're not like, they're some crazy missile. They're not a controlled sort of a thing. They just set these dominoes up into place for there to be some sort of an explosion. And I'm not talking about it well enough to really to do it justice. But I'm intrigued by the ideas that are floated in the book. It's just really some really kind of interesting and disturbing stuff in it. So Punk's Not Dead. London Calling, issue number 5. This is the end of this arc. Might be the end of London's Calling. End of I don't know if there's something going on after this. It ended a little too cleanly, a little too neatly, a little, let's just throw it all together at the end of it and we have a happy story at the end. Kind of a deal. So that's sort of a bummer. I've really been enjoying it. I've really been enjoying the artwork on it and stuff like that. We'll see if there's any more from it. I don't know. But yeah, I guess I wanted there to be more or something to it, and it was kind of a rush at the end of it to tidy it up. So, Bad Luck Chuck. If you haven't gotten this, I would say generally give it a miss. This is issue 4. This is the end of it. I really didn't. I mean, I like the idea of it. This kind of person who's got like uber bad luck. She helps places collect on insurance. She walks into the place, it burns to the ground, kind of a deal. It literally ends with an A-Team montage at the end of it. I mean, seriously, it actually literally rips it off. I mean, it literally, at the end of it, when the whole thing's going down or whatever, it has this narration boxes. Today, still wanted by the government. They survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire. And it's them racing off in a Volkswagen bus.
I like that. All right.
Sure. That part was like, it's fun. Unless you paid $3.99 for 4 issues each of something that wasn't very good. Then it's not so funny.
Right. That's not so funny.
Yeah. But Bone Parish issue 10 continues to be good. The government's starting to catch up to people. All the different factions are right at each other's door. So there's gonna be a massive blowout shootout, or they're all gonna take a bunch of ash and go crazy. I don't know, but I'm still.
That's the drugs that give you memories of the person.
Yes, they're made out of human cadavers. And there's the good ash, which you usually have a good high of whatever their experiences were. The Mafia has created a bad version of ash, which basically is a complete and utter horror show. I mean, it actually is so bad that if you OD on it, it'll actually twist your body up and bones will explode out of your body and all kinds of ugly happens and whatnot. And they've also created a form of ash that's actually made of living people, which is a completely different kind of trip. It's made out of their blood while they're still alive, and it is a completely different kind of a thing, and pretty nasty in its own right. So, but yeah, this is issue 10. 2 more issues. It has been really cool. It's been a pretty fun book as a whole. So. And that's basically it. High level, I still don't give a crap about it anymore than I did the issue. It's one of my Vertigo books that I get 50% off. So, I read it, and and that's it.
All right.
20 some odd books. Let's see, big indie news. This week, not our week of talking comics here, but the week of books that actually came out was the end of The Walking Dead at 193. Yeah. Mind you, 194, 195, and 196 were all solicited. They sneakily kept telling us this is what's going to happen in these issues, on purpose. So the fans had no idea that they were going to pull the plug on the book until it came out, which in one end, kudos to them to give the fans a surprise ending. Boo to the retailers though, because they're invested in thinking that they've got these books to sell. Saga's gone, huge seller. Yep. Now The Walking Dead's going to be gone. Of course, they can continue to sell the trades, I'm assuming. But that was The Walking Dead was pretty much a consistent, I know I'm going to be able to collect this revenue every month. I would think as a comic book store, that would be another scary collecting money on this issue like mad. But after that, because people are going to go out and buy this issue, even if they didn't read The Walking Dead or hadn't been reading it or fell off of it for a long time, people are going to go pick up this issue just to see how it ends. So,
yeah, my store was trying to tell me 2 issues ago to get started on it that this, couple issues will be some big sellers and that. And I'm like, I don't sell the flip. I'm not going to jump on now. I'll listen to what everybody says.
Right. And the people I know personally that have read it, liked it, like how it all plays out ultimately. I guess there's like a huge letter to the fans at the end of it where Kirkman talks about how he originally was going to end the book back when they first attempted to get control of Alexandria. And he actually describes exactly how the whole book was going to end. The book was going to end with there being a statue of Rick in Alexandria and the entire Alexandria completely full with a giant herd of zombies. And that's how it's going to end because the zombies just annihilated everything. And that the final panel was going to be this slowly shot pulling away as it's just this grinding, herd of walkers rolling around, which would have been a cool ending. I remember it's like, oh, that would have been horrible. I'm like, no, man, that's The Walking Dead, man. That would have been a perfect ending for it too. But then he thought of this other story he wanted to tell, and it would take a while to tell it. So obviously, but at any rate,
see, and I'm the kind of person that can't stand the idea that he didn't explain the plague, or that they didn't, the focus wasn't that they're trying to cure it or stop it or whatever. I'm why the last man. I need that ending to my story. So this would have upset me if I would have stayed on.
Right. So you've read some of The Walking Dead, right?
Yeah. So trades on Hoopla, probably the first 5 or 6.
Yeah, but really, The Walking Dead is not about the walkers, right? The Walking Dead is about a survival story and how horrible humans are to each other, right?
If it was 3 trades worth, yes, but more than that, it felt like it was pulling teeth, because I mean, the people that are watching the show and that, I think, they get tired of that kind of stuff. So no, for me,
they're all still watching it, and
I don't need zombie soap opera. So.
Yeah, and by then you're supposed to be so invested in the characters that, I mean, that's how I always saw it. I always saw it as, I mean, the zombies, the walkers were just an excuse to have this other stuff happen.
Yeah,
kind of a deal. I mean, clearly, clearly they're a plot element. Clearly, there's something. I mean, in that final issue, they do explain some of it. They don't actually explain the why, but they explain, what happens, because I don't want to get spoilery about it, but
that's fine.
Yeah, it jumps some and tells you the future in it, and so. I don't know. I'm not a reader of it. I mean, I've never been a Walking Dead fan. I watched the show for a while, but I could never totally get into The Walking Dead. When it first came out, I've gone back and tried reading it multiple times. It's just not my cup of tea to be. So, but like I said, I like how they ended it. I like the idea of that they stealth ended it. People did not know until that Tuesday when the comic book stores are putting it out on the shelves and went, what the hell is this? You didn't hear anything about it. And so from that aspect of it, to me, that's kind of cool, because that, as a reader, that would be an exciting experience to not be winding myself up knowing the ending is coming. I mean, this other stuff, I know it's going to end at issue 5. I'm already in my head. My gears are already turning. How are they going to land this thing? And I've already got a million ideas in my own head or whatever. The idea of it just suddenly being they ended it how they wanted to, with the information that they wanted to end it, and somehow they ended it without us knowing it until the day we picked up the issue. That's cool.
Yeah. So props for that. That is a rarity in the comic book industry.
Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, I'm sure there are probably some fans out there that feel betrayed too. Wait a second.
Yeah.
I thought I had all this more coming, and now you did this to me. But it wasn't canceled. I mean, the difference is, though, nothing's more annoying than being, if you're a fan that's invested in a book and there's all of a sudden, like issue 7, it quits with no resolution to any story whatsoever because it didn't sell, so they just canned it. That sucks. That sucks to get that. And I've definitely experienced that over my years of reading comics. But this was ended. I mean, they did get to truly do everything they wanted to do. Nobody was going to tell Kirkman to cancel that book.
No.
He could have stretched that on for another 10 years, easy, probably.
Well, yeah, I'm surprised it didn't get to 200 and, get all the extra issues and all that.
Yes, but see, that's just it though. Ending it where they ended it at, there was no people weren't even contemplating. Maybe when it gets to 200, they'll do something. Maybe there's a potential of something happening. Wasn't it issue 100 or something like that? Isn't that when Glenn got?
Yep.
So by ending it in a weird number, they pretty much set it up to, to kind of do as they want to with it. So,
Yeah.
Interesting, but like I said, I'm at the same time I feel sorry for the retailers because it's one less reliable, guaranteed. I don't have to work to sell this book anymore because it sells itself. It's like Saga. You don't have to work. It had its fan base. You don't have to work to sell that. It's sold. The same way that maybe not the same numbers, but you don't have to. Batman's Batman. You don't have to work to sell Batman. Spider-Man is Spider-Man. You don't have to work to sell those books. Those fans are going to show up and buy. So. So now, of course, the question is, what's the next saga? What's the next Walking Dead?
Yeah.
But you got to remember, for a long time, nobody gave a rat's behind about the Walking Dead. I mean, that first issue sold hardly anything, and that's one of the reasons why it's worth so much, because there's so few of them. Besides now, it is famous. So, I don't know. Interesting stuff, either way. But, I don't know of any other...
That's all I knew.
Yeah. That was the big thing. So I guess we'll call it a night. Well, Mike, thanks for coming on. We've got, I think doing the math, we got 2 more weekends before they shut us down. No, 3.
Unless of course you're going to do a twist and then end it today.
Oh, right. Unless this is the last one, which I'm hoping it's not the last one, but there's only 3 more.
I hope not either.
There's only like 3 more weekends before August 1st and it all goes away. So we'll see what happens then. Until whenever that is, until hopefully next weekend. Have a great one, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.